Hello and welcome to another episode of The Grindbin. I'm Mike Wood.
I'm Chris Mann.
Today we're going to be talking about 1989's Elves.
Merry Christmas, motherfucker!
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Yeah, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
This book ain't got no real poetry.
Hello, pizza man.
We're gonna play a little game, baby!
I just love fun and games. Get a little girl a little hot and horny.
You could have been decent once in a while. And maybe Daddy would have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore.
What a shame.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get creamed.
Oh, yes. Well, you're in the holiday episode here of The Grindbin, which just so happens to be, listener request. This is from Stephen M. And hey, guess what? He gave us a review over there on the iTunes and requested his movie, which was 1989's Elves, which is a movie I have never seen, but boy, it's just going to be a new Christmas classic around the house.
Yeah.
I'm sure to bring it over and show my family this holiday season. That'll be a fun one.
I want to say it's a truck stop classic. If this was ever carried in a truck stop in the VHS bin, like a TSA, truck stop of America.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, you show this to your parents, on the holidays, and bring it home, I go, no, Mom, you'll love it. It's Nazis. And
Nazis and inbreeding and...
this movie shot in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And it actually had a theatrical release, believe it or not, in 1989. But it was released on home video in 1994.
That long?
By AIP, who released the last movie we did, Savage Sisters. Now, here's a shocker. This movie is actually rated PG-13.
Well, we didn't see the penetration, so...
Well, when I saw that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was trying to think back. I'm like, well, I don't think there was much cussing, but...
Not really.
There was blood.
And a lot of gunshots and
A
90s and...
nice dick knifing.
Yeah.
But I guess that was... the reviewers were probably like, yeah, fuck it. We've seen enough. PG-13. There we go. It's a holiday movie. It's for the family,
Oral.
There is that. So the director and also one of the writers... Guess how many people wrote this one,
2.
Chris? 3.
Really?
Oh,
I saw 2 in the credits.
Chris,
I guess
come on now.
I saw 2 in the credits.
There's 3 writers in the credits.
Son of
Come on now, buddy.
Shut up.
Any one of these movies, 3 writers.
I know. The more the writers, the more it's shit. I know.
Well, the director and one of the writers, Jeff Mandel, not much is known about him on the IMDb or anywhere else I looked. He wrote and directed a few direct-to-VHS movies in the 90s, and he wrote for a TV show called Superforce in the early 90s. It's not the only time you're going to hear that show's name. Elves was the first feature-length movie he directed after he wrote a few episodes of a show called O'Hara. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
O'Hara or O'Hara, which was a show that starred Pat Morita as a cop in the LAPD. The tagline for the show, he doesn't drive, he doesn't shoot, he doesn't punch, and he doesn't lose. O'Hara, the uncop. With a horrible tagline like that, it's no wonder the show lasted 13 episodes. I read that and I go, okay, you're going to get me excited to watch a cop TV show. Ready? He doesn't drive. He doesn't shoot. He doesn't punch. Okay, so what the fuck does he do? Sit at his desk?
He's administrative.
Is this a show of Pat Morita just sitting and filing stuff away?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, that was a good case. Oh, I remember that one.
I wish I could have been on this one. Let me tell you about it.
So it's a cop show where there's no guns, no car chases.
It's a cop.
No nothing. No cuffs, nothing.
It's a cop show without the copy.
Oh, and then people online were asking, oh, can I find this on DVD? I'm like, why? So then he wrote and directed a movie in 1990 called Cyber Chick, and it's CHIC in capital letters because it's about a cybernetic woman made by some scientist who fights crime. It starred a lady named Kathy Shower, and it also starred Burt Ward.
Wow.
Yeah, the Burt Ward from
Batman.
Robin fame.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be horrible. He wrote a movie called Firehead in 1991 that starred Christopher Plummer and Martin Landau, and guess what it's about? Another cybernetic person. He's a cybernetic Russian who is trying to take over the world. What a surprise.
Yeah, done.
Actually, it's like he combined the stories from Cyber Chick and Elves into one movie.
So there's Nazis in it too? But there's Russians.
It's a Russian master race, Chris.
Okay. Russian master race.
And if you're confused at why we're talking about a movie named Elves, which only has one fucking elf in it, by the way.
Thank you. I'm glad you were going to say
and why
this.
we're bringing up the master race, we'll get to that. So the last thing he wrote and directed was in 1998, something called Turnaround. Literally nothing is known about it. There's no plot summary, no DVD, nothing. Just has a cast list and one person on IMDb going, oh, can I find this anywhere? I own the VHS. And he wrote this. Go look at his post, by the way, because he wrote 8 responses to himself. He's like, anybody out there? It was like every 6 months, this guy's going and checking his fucking message board posts to see if somebody responded.
Is that under reviews?
No, it's under the message board for that movie.
Yes, that got it.
Second writer, Mike Griffin, only credit. Third writer, Bruce A. Taylor, is the son of Roderick Taylor, who is a musician, writer, director, and producer himself, and worked on a lot of the same things. But Bruce Taylor has 19 writing credits. 1990, Instant Karma, and then he also worked on that show Superforce with Jeff Mandel.
Yeah.
He's still writing things even to today. So now we're getting into the cast, Chris. The heavy hitter in this movie.
Yes.
And you're going to be surprised to find out, Grindbin All-Star.
Yep.
Dan Haggerty,
Yep.
who plays Mike McGavin, or as he's just known in the movie,
Santa.
he passed away this year, actually, which is sad. The age of 73. He passed away in January of 2016, so he didn't get to experience the tumultuous year this has been. He has 61 credits and is most well known as TV's Grizzly Adams. Yes, that's right. This movie stars Grizzly Adams, and boy, does he give it his all, Chris.
He's a man who wants fucking answers.
Yeah, he wants answers, or else he'll tell you, hey, I'm looking for some answers on this case. You got any?
He will disrupt your dinner Christmas Eve for answers no matter what.
But with no emotion. He'll just walk right in and go, yeah, hey, I'm looking for this guy.
Like, come on, man. Like, just come on. Just let me I just need 1 minute of your time. Just please.
So he started his career in 1964's Muscle Beach Party as the character Biff, the Muscle Man. 1969, he played an uncredited role in Easy Rider. 1972, he was in The Pink Angels as a biker. And if you want to go check out the trailer for Pink Angels if you've never seen that, it is one of the most offensive movies by today's standards you could ever imagine. It's about a Hells Angels gang, but they're all gay. It's every gay stereotype joke you could ever imagine.
Leather chaps, mesh shirts, whips.
Oh boy,
the hat, the
Chris,
Halford hat. Yeah,
you have no idea. The Pink Angels is a movie about like a Hell's Angel biker gang, but instead of going around like committing crimes, they go around and like sexually assault men. It's like, oh, these gay people, they're coming for you. One of these days, they're going to be in a biker gang, and the next thing you do, you're going to look over and they're going to be hitting on you.
Yeah,
the worst fear. Who that's scared, I don't know.
Look around your shoulder at every rest stop.
If you don't think there's like 5 scenes at rest stops, you'd be wrong.
Reach arounds left and right.
There's a part in the trailer for the movie where a guy walks into a lady's room at a rest stop, and it's like, ew. What a joke. 1973, Grindbin All-Star. He was in Super Chick.
Yep.
As one of the bikers who tried to rape her in the park. 1974, so right after he went from raping Tara in a park and getting his ass kicked, I wonder if he was that guy that also said that line. You remember in Super Chick when one of them says, like, all right, let's quit the movie gangsta stuff and rape this broad?
Yeah. Was that him?
Yeah, I wonder if that was it. But in 1974, he found his big break as Grizzly Adams, and from there, the rest is history. Pretty much, if you had Grizzly Adams on TV, old Dan Haggerty was there. And they, like, posted his name up at the top of this fucking poster. They're like, Dan Haggerty presents Elves. I wonder why it was such a small release, though, you know, with a name like that. Chris.
Yeah. Oh, God.
With a compelling actor like Dan. He continued to appear in B-movies throughout his career. He acted for a while, but he did just recently pass away. He was 73. Julie Austin, who plays Kirsten. Elves was her first role. She only has 7 credits, all small B-movies, and an appearance on the Superforce TV show, which was written by the guy who directed this. 1989, Fatal Exposure. 1990, Twisted Justice. 1990, Smooth Talker. And her last role was in 1993's Extreme Justice with Lou Diamond Phillips. So you got anything more to add before we get into the movie today, Chris?
I'm all ears. I can't wait.
So we went in blind on this one.
Yeah.
And if you want us to review your movie, which this is all this month is listener requests. If you rate and review this show 5-star on iTunes, we will review whatever movie you want us to. It doesn't even have to be in our genre, believe it or not. If you were to send me something, I mean, I'm not going to be happy if somebody sends me shit. You know what? No, I'm amending that. If you send me something that's like, I want you to review Rogue One, I'll be like, hey, fuck you. So before we get into it, let's take a listen to the trailer.
An innocent romp in the woods turns into a hellish nightmare when an evil force is accidentally awakened. Action International Pictures presents the gruesome holiday shocker, Elves. They're not working for Santa anymore.
I had a rough day at work. Santa got murdered.
Their mission, to mate with a virgin and conquer the world as a pint-sized master race.
I'm saving it for someone special.
Dan Haggerty stars as Mike McGavin, an ex-detective working on hard times.
First you're Santa, then you die.
She is the most important person on Earth. From her will grow the new order.
Santa must expose this unholy force before the elves destroy Christmas.
Jesus Christ.
Elves. They're not working for Santa anymore.
So, Chris, we start out with that wonderful straight-to-video music. You know you're at home when you get this Casio keyboard-esque music. And I always wonder, like, with these movies, right? Because this one really reminds me of those movies I would collect from, like, Suncoast Video when I was in high school.
Yeah.
My personal favorite being The Ice Cream Man, starring Clint Howard, which might be a good one to cover at some point on this show. They all have it's like they all have the same fucking soundtrack.
Yeah, same suspense. I was like, hearing this, I was like, I've heard this before.
It's like somebody put a Casio, put it to like literally the worst sample, which is like trumpet.
Yeah.
And then just started playing a song and it's like and it's always the same fucking like slow, like not even a composed song. It's just like somebody pressing keys randomly and there's like, does that fill in the movie? Is that good?
I think it's like a cat came into the studio when the guy was on a shitter break and just kind of hit record on accident and yeah, they got saved.
And they go, Billy, this is fine. Oh, all right.
So what's
you got that $20? Cash, right?
Yeah.
First thing I noticed, 3 writers, of course, but here's a weird one. 3 editors?
I saw that.
What the fuck?
Saw that.
This movie, 80 minutes, needed 3 people to edit it. My concern is like, okay, so do you think that through the production, each, like the first 2 quit? And they were just left with 1 guy or what?
It has to be.
Because why would you need 3 people editing this shit?
Well, you need the Elf Vision editing. I think that's a specialty job right there.
I mean, editing, like, it felt like they fucking edited this in the camera. Like, if
Yeah.
anything was more than 1 fucking
Yeah.
take, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Those effects for the Elf Vision, I thought that was like an in-camera effect.
Oh, well, I did write that in my notes. Yeah, it definitely looked like it. It's like, the stutter effect, you know. Look at that. Well, I gotta give it this. It's a typical like straight to video quality. Although this was straight to the theaters, believe it or not.
Yeah, and this is full frame when you watch it on YouTube, so it's probably going to be. I hope.
Oh yeah. By the way, the only place to find this movie
Yeah.
is on YouTube. There is no DVD release of this movie. I don't think. Apparently, the European version is different than the American version, but I'm not sure. I couldn't find out what exactly was different about it. But this is a good old VHS movie, and somebody was kind enough to upload it in full to YouTube.
God bless them.
So we see, Chris, 3 women walking through the woods at night with a book. They are the Sisters of Anti-Christmas. And so they go to this I guess, this clearing, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to perform some sort of...
Some ritual. Some
ritual.
blood ritual, if you will.
And one of the girls is like, oh, I made us like a mascot or something. And she pulls out this picture that she's drawn, which is just like... When I thought it looked like the lady character from Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
And it was just like... a lady with like giant boobs.
Like comically big.
Like no girl would draw that.
Nobody looked like it. Looked like there's a comic book company called Verotic, and it's owned by Glenn Danzig. And this is like the degree of breasts and just pure, 14-year-old fantasy. Put a pen in his hand and go to town.
If a 6th grade boy would draw a picture of like a cartoon lady, it would be like, well, you got to make the boobs bigger than her whole body.
Just gonna have back problems.
Like, so half the page is just boobs, and then there's this tiny head on top, and she's like, yeah, this is our mascot.
And then there's like these odd little like rectangular lines around the breasts for some reason. Yeah,
and none of this makes any sense because they're like, oh, that's great.
How are we gonna get that screen printed is the question.
They're all going to wear shirts of it, so the main girl is Kirsten, right?
Right.
I don't even know the other girls' names, by the way.
No.
But they just kind of follow her around.
Yeah.
So Kirsten says, like, all right, well, let's get this started. And then she, like, cuts her hand on this candle. I don't know how it breaks, but it breaks.
It just drops.
And then she, like, drops blood on the ground.
Mm.
And then the ceremony's over because she's like, well, I cut my hand. We got to go back. And they're like, okay, well, we'll do it another night, I guess. So they go away, Chris, and all of a sudden the steam starts coming out from the ground. Well, they all go home. Okay.
Yeah.
And Kirsten goes back in her house. And she puts the book on the shelf. And then, Chris, who comes in?
Oh. Are we talking about, is it the grandpa?
The grandpa rolls his way in.
Yeah.
Because he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And he's got a very thick German accent, like very thick.
So he rolls in and just slaps her twice.
And my favorite thing is, he goes, "This is one for going outside, and yet this is for that lie you're about to tell me."
Grandpa, I was just gonna...
First was for being here without my permission. The second was for the lie you were about to tell.
And I write, nothing like starting your movie out with a little domestic abuse, you know?
Give her the old
1-2, forehand and backhand, you know?
Really strong beginning.
So he's like all pissed because she touched his books or some shit. And he's like, you went out to the woods, didn't you? She's like, no. And I'm like, well, this must be a routine. You know, this seems like must have happened before. And so during all this, like, we keep cutting back to this POV of this thing, like it's like Evil Dead, like running through the woods.
It's so Evil Dead at the point where the fog in the ground.
It's just like Evil Dead 1, where they just kind of pick the camera up, but this one they use the nice stutter or shutter effect there on the VHS camera they got. They're like, look, you don't even have to put effects on post; they can do it right in the camera. Mm-hmm. And they're just walking around, and it looks fucking horrible.
I couldn't tell what was going on. It was so dark. So disorienting.
This movie is way too dark, and I don't know if that's the transfer or if it's just another thing of like, well, we only need one light. I mean,
I'm going to chalk it up to the transfer and the fact that it's in 36p on YouTube.
Oh, maybe.
It's not even in 4.
It's real shitty quality, but it's great. It's like watching those old VHSs.
Yeah.
So then we go to the kitchen. So Kirsten goes in the kitchen, and her mom's there, and she's like washing out her cut. Okay, well, at first I wrote, I don't know who any of these people are, and I was really confused at this point, so I paused the movie. I said, I guess this is her mom.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Grandpa's lady friend.
The mistress of the house.
But then I checked IMDb, and it must be her mom, because the credit for this character and the grandpa are Kirsten's mom and Kirsten's grandpa.
Yeah.
They don't even have names.
No. Can you imagine going in that casting call?
And these are not minor characters. These are main characters in this movie. The grandpa has maybe more dialogue than Kirsten.
No, he does. He delivers more lines. Hers just like, huh? What?
Santa? Yeah. And so, okay, this is a great scene, though. This is absolutely fucking amazing. Is the mom's like, you were out in the woods, weren't you? You were with that book. And she's like, no, I wasn't. And she goes, well, you know what? You're done. You were hanging out with that unholy trio. And you know what? you've had enough breaking the rules around here, and you're going to be punished. Tomorrow,
Draining the savings account. It's like, okay, is this a joint account?
She goes, I'm going to the bank and I'm going to close your savings account. All of it. And she's like, but I earned that money. And she's like, well, not anymore.
Well, you broke the rules. You're going to have to be punished.
He's already slapped me twice.
Well, that isn't going to stay with you. But this will. Your savings account is history. I'm going to the bank tomorrow to close it out.
You can't do that. That is so totally outrageous. I earned that money. It's mine.
Not anymore.
Does she want her living there forever then?
Yeah, well, first of all, Kirsten's not, like, in high school. This girl's, like, over 18.
Yeah.
My mom can't go down to the bank and close my savings account as a 30-year-old man. She can try, but it ain't gonna fucking happen.
Just gonna be. I'm gonna see on the news this woman being dragged out. Fucking Michael, I try to close it down.
If my mom said it to me, I'd be like, well, I mean, you could go. I mean, Bank of America, you go try. It's not gonna fucking happen. I'm his mother. Oh, I'm sorry, Kirsten's mom? Oh, that's what it says on your driver's license here.
All the checkbooks, the credit cards, Kirsten's mom.
Well, it all checks out. Here's all the money. You want that as cashier's check or cash? So apparently she's going to close down that whole savings account, Chris.
Yeah.
It's a very severe punishment, but you know what? She's an unruly child, a part of that unholy trio.
Yeah.
So then we go to the shower, and Kirsten's taking a shower, and... That's where this movie starts to...
Because they hear the shower, but there's no water.
Oh, you know what? I never noticed that.
Yeah.
Then I'm thinking about it,
Yeah.
So she gets out of that shower, Chris, and there's a little eager beaver running around this house.
It's a real young Bobby in training.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think I know where you're going with that one. So... this little Bobby in training. This kid doesn't have a name, so we'll just call him Bobby.
Yeah, and he's got like the best pajamas. He had like my dream room as a kid too.
So he just walks into the bathroom and like catches a little peek at his sister. So she runs in and she's like, "Hey, you, what are you doing? You're being a pervert." And he goes, "I'm not a pervert. I just like seeing girls naked." It's like, well, no, that is a pervert when you sneak into the room, kid. And he goes, "By the way, your tits are huge, and I saw them, and I'm going to tell everybody." I'm like, you know what, kid? I don't think that's going to fly too well in school.
Not going to get too far. I bet that kid's friends, though, they're like really hot for his sister, so I think that's going to pay off big for him.
He's like, well, I've seen them, and they're great.
Yeah.
He's like, can
you draw them for us? Explain in detail.
That picture she got was just him drawing a picture of her. She just found it around. She goes, "Yeah, this will work.
Yeah.
I like it.
It looks like me. Reminds me of me."
That's a very nice depiction.
You pervert. I'm not a pervert. I like seeing naked girls.
I'm your fucking sister.
Yeah, and you've got fucking big tits, and I'm going to tell everybody I saw them.
Get out of here. You're not supposed to be in here without my permission.
Yeah, well, fuck you. Mom says she's giving me all your money, so fuck you.
This little eager beaver, the little Bobby in training, she's all upset at him. He is a pervert. He was trying to look at her. But then we see from outside the window a POV of a monster.
Yeah.
That Evil Dead monster. It's peering through the window. And then we go to Kirsten laying in her bed, and she's hanging out with a cat that she talks to. And by the way, there's a lot of moments in this movie where characters will just talk to themselves.
Thank you.
Like, carry on full conversations with themselves. They'll just lay in a room. Santa especially.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to get to fucking
thank
Grizzly
you.
Adams in this movie. Where it's like, either this was written or he's just saying shit and they're rolling it. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Method.
Kirsten's laying in bed and she's petting this cat. She's like, "You're my only friend, cat.
Agamemnon.
Don't leave. You're my only friend."
Yeah. I wish you were a girl, I think, or something about...
The dialogue in this movie is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Like, the writing is just top-notch. I mean, we're going to play a few samples throughout this podcast, but holy Lord. Do yourself a favor. If you like bad movies, this is one to check out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a gem in this one. So, the monster breaks into the basement of this house and creeps upstairs. And for some reason, it goes and starts molesting the brother in his room.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't attack him. He takes the kid and kind of rubs him a little bit. And he's like, yeah.
It's like right above his face, like.
I think he goes for the pants, you know?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Kirsten and the mom, like, run into the room. And the kid's like, oh, my God, this fucking monster broke into my room. And they're like, oh, it must have been the cat.
Yeah, they blame it all on the cat.
The mom's like, oh, that fucking cat. And he's like, no, something was on top of me.
It was like a troll. And the cat, this poor animal, but we'll get
the
to
cat's
that.
not even, like, in the room. It just walks by, and the mom's like, hey, that fucking cat. It's always a bunch of trouble.
Yeah.
And so they blame it on the cat, but everybody goes back to bed.
Yeah.
Disregard that monster talk. It's just some pervert child in his room. He didn't know what he wants.
Some kid in like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pajamas with a raging boner sticking out of it. I had Joker.
He had a fear boner at this point.
I had Joker pajamas and
and quite a bit of fear boners, right?
Fear wasn't involved, but they left a little to the imagination.
I didn't call you the Joker for nothing, Chris. Running
It was
around.
more like the poker.
So now we go. It's the next day. We're downtown, I guess. This is like the only exterior fucking shot of this whole place. It's Christmas time, and some shitty fucking band is playing outside.
Okay. These guys look way too well off to be doing any kind of panhandling musician busking. It's like the outfits they're wearing, it's like Disneyland, like Main Street.
Yeah, but
band.
you know what, Chris? Their band is fucking terrible, so... I mean, I don't know. Maybe they were like, well, we can't afford the music lessons, but we can afford to dress nice. It's not working, though. Nobody seems to want to give us money. So this guy who looks like Santa gives them some money, and he walks in to, I don't know where we're walking into. It's like an office building or something.
Yeah.
But then we just cut, and at first I read, I'm not sure why this was even included, because we don't cut to this man. We cut inside like a restaurant.
Yeah.
And the unholy trio is there, and Kirsten is working, and so her friends are just like waiting at a table, and she's doing her job. And apparently they have something planned for the next night.
Yeah, a little poking, and you know what I mean.
But they don't tell us. They're just like, oh, I can't wait till tomorrow night. Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, we'll let the audience in. What's going on? And so Kirsten goes on break, and she says she wants to do... Okay, now I couldn't understand what she said, Chris. What I think she said was, let's go do Fun Santa.
Let's go joke on Santa or something like that. Let's go...
What I heard was, quote, Fun Santa.
Yeah.
So...
Let's go fun on Santa. That's what it said.
Fun on Santa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful writing. So we go to this like department store, and there we go. We get the man from outside who looks like Santa. This is Grizzly Adams. Mm-hmm. We're just gonna call him Santa because that's what Kirsten calls him through this whole movie.
He kind
she
of looks
never
like,
calls him by his name.
Almost looks like Russell Crowe in certain.
It's like a fat Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
And if Russell Crowe just mumbled all his lines and never showed emotion ever.
This is like his dry run before they rolled film.
No, I've never seen Grizzly Adams, but I imagine, does he just walk around in the show and just mumble the whole time? He's like, oh, there's a fucking bear over there.
Well, I think after he read the script, he wanted to mumble. He didn't want... It was not worth his effort.
Was this a fucking character choice? Or what is going on? This guy shows literally zero emotion throughout this whole movie. Like, there will be gunfights. Literal fucking gunfights in this movie. And he'll be like, oh, get behind the counter. There's a gun. I'm going to shoot at that guy. Oh, Duck, don't get hurt. It's like, come on, a little bit more?
Yeah.
A little bit more? You think at the end of a take, the director was like, that was great. Dan, maybe a little more next one, huh? No, I think I'm going to do it like this. Well, you're the expert.
You got to keep the energy sustained.
You know, my check didn't clear. I'll tell you what, I'll give you more than the monotone the day that money goes in my account. Until then, this is as loud as I get. You're going to have to push that boom mic right up to my lips.
This movie needed some boom.
I mean, there's parts where Kirsten is like screaming, and then you cut to Dan, and he's like, what the fuck? Speak up! What the fuck? fuck is going on? So we go, okay, Dan's just kind of wandering around. At this point, you think he's a homeless man, this Santa guy.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of, and by the way, he only, he chain smokes this whole movie. Everywhere he goes, even if people tell him you can't smoke, he'll just be like, well, thank you for telling me that, and just never put it out.
To keep smoking.
So he just kind of walks around this store, and then some asshole manager guy named Hugh, who's one of my favorite characters in this movie, just kind of like comes up, and he's like, hey, what are you doing here, Dan? And he's like, oh, I need a job. Can you give me a job, please? And I assume he's applying for a Santa job because it's a natural fit.
Right.
We know nothing about this man. At this point, you think he's a homeless man who wandered into the store.
I thought the same thing.
And that's why the guy's like, can you get the fuck out of here?
Yeah, because he's like, oh, we have some coffee and donuts for you if you'd like over there. And the guy's like, well, no, I'm here for a job. I'm like, okay, where's the resume?
Well, with the resume. There is a part where he goes like, Santa, you can go in and have a cup of coffee on me. And he goes, I can afford my own cup of coffee. It's like, okay. I mean, what? Where is this going? And basically, he's like, well, I don't have any jobs. Can you leave? And he's like, okay, I'm going to go leave now. Then we go to the Santa line, and the unholy trio is waiting in line to see Santa.
They're waiting to fun on Santa.
They're waiting to fun on Santa.
Yeah.
We're going to find out what that means, which gets a little weird. But before that, Chris, we cut back to the home, Kirsten's home, and the mom corners that cat in the kitchen and puts it in a pillowcase.
Yeah.
And she gets it in that pillowcase a little too easy, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no resistance or anything.
No cat would ever give up that easily.
I can't even get my fucking cat in the cage to go to the vet.
Yeah.
It's an ordeal. Like, you got to wrap it in a fucking towel and drop the thing in, and it'll pull the, putting its legs between them.
You try to shake it to get it out.
Or sometimes, a couple times, it's gone under the bed and, like, gripped onto the underside of the mattress. I've literally had to flip the fucking bed over to pry a cat off the thing. I'm like, there's no way that thing's going in that fucking pillowcase.
I've never heard of that. I've never had that problem with mine.
Well, you get it in a pillowcase real easy, huh?
No, it's like a little carrier. Well,
all the cats you've had, this is how they end their fate in this movie, Chris.
They made their fate with a with a bit. Their fate. The last thing you see is a label from Bed Bath and Beyond.
Chris, Fluffy's been a bad cat. Get the pillowcase.
No. Nope.
Oh, now we know how Chris's house worked.
No.
But Chris, before then, we go back to the Santa. All right.
Yeah.
And Kirsten climbs onto his lap, and she's also in a skirt, by the way.
And she's on the job. She's still in her uniform.
Okay, and she's like what? Like a 20-year-old girl or something?
Yeah.
She's not like a high school kid.
Yeah.
She doesn't belong on Santa's lap. It's obviously they're trying to have fun on him.
Yeah.
Whatever that fucking means. Because she's all getting up close. She's like, hi, Santa.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? She's like, just a little snow. Just a little snow. And what's he do, Chris?
He reaches his fingers up her thigh and he goes,
oral.
Like away from the van. And more.
And she kind of like looks at him like, what? And he goes, Santa wants oral.
Oral.
What?
Santa said oral.
And so she slaps him.
Yeah.
Which I thought they were doing this on purpose to get a rise out of him.
Yeah.
Like a literal rise out of the man. But
just slide up the North Pole,
So she slaps. Slide up the North Pole. I like that one. So we go back to the home, and that mom is taking that pillowcase of that cat, and
it's so mean.
Chris, what does she do?
I don't even want to think about it, but she takes the cat in the pillow and puts it in a toilet to put it out of its misery.
Okay, I got a few problems with this.
Me too.
One, this cat is putting up no resistance, and she takes a pillowcase with a cat apparently in it and just puts it into this toilet water, which barely covers the cat.
How do you want this to happen, Mike? Do you want them to put an actual cat in there and go, like have that animated
It would have been more realistic if she buried it alive, Chris. Because this cat, it puts up no resistance. Like, there's no fight back or anything.
Yeah.
Like,
well, how do you want
to do
the scene?
Go fucking try and put a cat in a tub and see what happens. See if that thing goes in there.
Yeah.
We had a cat the other day jump into the shower on its own, and it fucking flipped out, Fucking shampoo bottles are flying everywhere. If that thing touches water, it's freaking out. But this cat's like, oh, I guess I've been a bad boy.
Yeah.
It just drowns in a toilet.
Yeah. I lived with a cat that would watch me shower.
They'll sit there and stare at you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you open the door and you're like, come on in.
Yeah.
And it never does.
Yeah.
I mean, if you drop a little bit of water on a cat, it runs away.
Mm-hmm.
But this cat, no. It knows its fate, Chris. So
it's resigned.
It's resigned
to its fate.
to the end. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm going to die now.
Yeah, if I struggle, it only makes it worse.
Because the mom drowns this thing in the toilet. Just like she just barely kind of pushes it down a little bit. It doesn't even like cover the cat.
It's almost like it's floating back up the second she holds it down.
And then, okay, so I guess the cat's fucking dead. She drowned it in the toilet. This is really, really fucked up. And we go back to the Santa, and apparently, so now Hugh, the mall manager guy, is there, and he's firing the Santa. And I did like this part is like, so the Santa's walking out, and he's all fucking pissed that he just got fired. He walks by some lady, and she goes, oh, hi, Santa. And he just flips her off on the way out. A little one last fuck you. And then we see the POV of the monster.
Again, yeah.
And he's like hanging out in the store, I guess, now in the day.
Okay, my question, how did you get a ride to the store? Because I would love to see the scene where he's hitchhiking to get there. like okay, because I'll allude to this. I got a little giddy because there was a Ghostbusters 2 poster in there in the kids' room. So I'm like, okay, if Slimer can drive a bus, this troll elf can hitch a ride to this mall.
Slimer can't drive a bus, Chris. Fuck that. And Rick Moranis can't be a Ghostbuster. We're not getting into that fucking movie, you know, fucking shitty. And you know what? You can't control the fucking Statue of Liberty with a goddamn Nintendo controller. All right?
You can
fucking NES Advantage. Control this fucking. We're not getting into this bullshit.
You know, with Jackie Wilson, you can.
So we go home, and the mom is burying the cat in the yard. And then we go back to Santa, and now he's in the break room just fucking doing lines of coke in the back. He's like, well, if I'm getting fired, I'm going out on top, gonna bump a few rails before I head on out for the
put
day.
a little frost on his nose. You know?
He's like, I'm gonna bump a few rails, go see if Woolworths needs a Santa, you know? Go across town. So, for no reason, Chris, we cut to the monster, and he's under this dressing room counter, and what's he do?
For some reason, this monster now has a knife, and it's going to stab him in the dick over and over again. And for some reason, blood comes out of Santa's mouth, which I didn't understand. Like, what part of human anatomy is that made possible?
He stabbed him so hard,
Yeah.
the blood just came out the mouth, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a movie trope. We used to do that all the time. We would have a guy's arm get cut off, all of a sudden he'd be spitting up blood.
Yeah,
you know?
we would do that in our short
Yeah.
films, yes.
But yeah, he stabs this guy in the dick like 9 times, just over and over and over.
Yeah.
And Santa's like, ah, and then he just dies, right? And then some like girl that works at the store, because the manager's all pissed. He's like, will you go fucking check on that guy? Is he doing rails back there?
Again?
And then this girl walks in and she sees Santa dead. So we cut to later, and the cops are packing him up. And Hugh goes, all right, so the manager goes to the cop, he goes, nothing like this has happened in 50 years.
Okay. This is said multiple times, because this is the second time he says it, because he says it when Santa gets fired initially.
Nothing like this has happened in 50 years.
Yeah.
And the cop responds to him, Chris, he goes, sign of the times. I write, what the fuck does that mean?
Dick stabbing, sign of the times. Happened in Times Square.
You know, these kids nowadays fucking stabbing each other in the dicks all the time. You wouldn't believe the things I've seen lately. Yeah. So the cop, he goes up to Kirsten, and I do love this part. He's like, all right, well, I got some questions. She's like, well, why do you want to talk to me? And he goes, guy fills you up, you slap him, and a few minutes later, he's found with his nuts cut off. What should I think? And I wrote, very true. Yeah. You are fucking suspect number 1, little lady. The last person that he fucking saw was this girl who got mad at him because he came onto her sexually and she slapped him, and the next thing you know, his dick stabbed off. Well, I wonder who we're going to talk to first, you know?
Well, there's motive.
And she says, okay, he's a pervert and a drug addict and someone killed him. Isn't that the spirit of Christmas? And I write, no. No, it's not.
And that's what the detective says. Exactly.
What the fuck does that even mean?
She's just trying to be an angsty.
In her version of Christmas is like a Charles Bronson death wish.
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, her German grandfather. They go out on Christmas Eve and they go kill muggers. You know, they go look for perverts.
They go look for that gold star.
That's what they hang on top of their tree, Chris. A Jew. You'll see. So we go to later in the home. Kirsten, she walks through the door. Oh my God, this part is amazing. So she walks in the door and the mom's like, well, where have you been? You look like shit. She goes, yeah, well, I had a rough day at work. Santa got murdered.
Yeah.
And the line delivery is so good.
You look terrible. Yeah, well, I had a rough day at work. Santa got murdered.
And the mom looks at her and goes, real funny. It's like, well, it's not a fucking joke.
Yeah.
I'm sure by this point it's all over the news and everybody's saying, like, did you hear Santa got stabbed in the dick over at the mall?
Sign of the times.
Yeah, sign of the times. And she's like looking for her cat. She's like, you seen the cat? Which, by the way, she just walked in the door and she's like, where's the cat?
Well, maybe she's used to the cat running to her every time she comes in. I would be used to that if that was the thing. Like, if it didn't come to me every day and one day it didn't come, yeah, I'd be concerned.
The mom says, like, well, I haven't seen it all day. So then we go to, okay, this is the only time we're going to see this, and this really fucking pissed me off. So we go to Santa's trailer, right?
Yeah.
And so Santa goes to this trailer, and not the Santa who's dead, okay? Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about Grizzly Adams Santa. His name is Santa. We're going to call him Santa. His name is Mike, apparently, but I don't even know that he had a name.
Yeah.
I just thought it was Santa because that's all that Kirsten calls him in this movie.
So annoying. So
he goes to this trailer, and he, like, kind of bangs on the door, and I guess he locked himself out of his home?
Well, he got evicted.
Oh, is that what happened?
There's an eviction sign on it.
Oh, because I was like, what did he... I thought... Okay.
When he got locked out and
I thought he just gave up.
No. Well, Christmas Eve.
Because this is a wrap on this trailer. We'll never see this trailer again. I thought he was just like, well, what am I going to do? I can't get inside. Yeah. I can't get home.
Oh, there was an eviction sign.
I'm giving up.
Yeah.
I thought he just gave up. And he thought he had to find a new home.
Like, well, I didn't put tape on the inside of that lock to keep it open, so, I guess I'm fucked.
That's why I thought he learned his lesson. So apparently he's been evicted. Not to my knowledge, but nice catch, Chris. But he also, okay, this is amazing. So he walks into the scene reading the Surgeon General warning on the back of a cigarette box to himself.
Yeah.
Like he's the first guy in history who goes,
The Surgeon General says a pack a day will keep your lungs nice and gray. Well, I guess that could be worth.
May cause your lungs to go gray.
And then he's like, oh, my door's locked. Whoop, better find a new home.
That's how he found that home.
And I was like, do you think he just started smoking? Because he's reading the warning.
It's like the first time you read anything in your life.
Like I had this friend. He's a great guy, one of the friendliest guys you ever meet. But he does the most white trash things you've ever seen in your life. And one day, at the age of 23, he just started smoking one day. Like I showed up, he'd never smoked a cigarette in his life.
Yeah.
And I show up to a parking lot to meet him there, and he's sitting on the roof of his Pontiac Trans Am without a shirt on, smoking a cigarette like it's some sort of White Snake video. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? And he's like, I don't know, just seemed like something to do. And from then on, he was a smoker. That's the only time I've ever seen the tobacco company just get somebody because they were bored. Fuck it.
Something to do.
I just felt like dying young, Fuck it.
Emphysema sounds appealing. I like that oxygen tank is really fashionable when you think about it.
Like I was imagining Santa just going to this liquor store and he's like, "Well, do you want anything else?" And he goes, "You know what? Yeah, give me a pack of them cigarettes." What type? I don't know. I'm just gonna start today. What do you recommend?
What's the starter brand?
Yeah, what's a good one?
Not Marlboro, I'll tell you that much.
I like that cartoon camel. Man. So
it makes me laugh.
He's just started smoking and he's just learned that the Surgeon General warns against it, but it's not going to stop him. He likes this habit, He finds it strangely addicting. It's like he just can't stop.
No matter what anybody tells him.
For the rest of this movie, this guy fucking chain smokes like a goddamn chimney. I mean, every fucking place he goes, he's smoking a cigarette. So apparently, yeah, like you said, do you think that's how he found his trailer? He got locked out of his last home and he just wandered around until he found another home.
He's a roamer. He's a real nomad. He's a real vagabond.
The original fucking nomad gypsy here. Well, the door's locked. Better go find somewhere else.
Yeah, vagabond.
He just
Adams.
walks around town looking for an open door.
He jiggles every handle, every knob, turns every knob he can find. It started at a young age, Mike. At a young age.
It just looks nice.
Remember that was like just something like it was something to do. It was something to do. I was bored, so I just went around jiggling handles and doorknobs. One day when it was open, and I just, I set up shack.
And then it got locked, so now you don't really know what to do. So we go, useless scene. We go to Kirsten's room. Her cut is magically healed, like that cut she had on her hand from the beginning. It doesn't fucking matter.
I guess it really is supposed to be magical.
Yeah, because she's like, whoa, it's healed. And it's like, okay, well, we never referenced it besides that first scene. But then she thinks she hears the cat at the window, but it's the elf monster. And then that scene just ends. She sees a monster and it's like, there's a monster. Cut. We're in the dining room. And Kirsten's like sitting at a table and her grandpa and her mom are there. And the grandpa rolls in and he's like, what did you see? And she's like, I keep telling you, it's like a troll. I saw a troll thing.
And it pisses me off because the movie's called Elves, but why not just call it an elf? Why does
I
that
don't
have to
know.
be a troll?
Nobody uses the fucking term elf.
Yeah.
The mom's not concerned at all. Now, it's just 2 nights in a row somebody's claimed to have seen a troll in the house. And she goes, we'll call the exterminator. It's obviously something for the exterminator. And then Kirsten leaves and the grandpa yells. And who he does? He goes, it must be the elves. And Kirsten's, no. Kirsten leaves the room, right? She goes like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to bed. And then steps out of the room, maybe, 3 steps total?
Yeah.
Before the grandpa screams at the top of his lungs, it must be the elves, to the mom.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kirsten can still hear this. It must be the elves. And then the mom says something about, you don't know what you're talking about. Also, I killed the cat. And that just ends.
Yeah.
Go to Grandpa. He lights a candle and looks through artifacts. Fucking useless. Go to this restaurant where Kirsten works, and the Santa guy is like drinking coffee, and then him and Kirsten have a whole conversation about how shitty their lives are. Which is basically like, Santa doesn't have a fucking home.
No, he's like, I feel you, sister. Yeah, it's a
like,
hard luck life,
She's like, I had a really fucking bad day. And he's like, I'm sorry to hear that you had a bad day. My cat died. I'm sorry to hear about that.
I really am. I lost my house.
Last night I had to blow a guy to sleep in a dumpster.
It turned out the guy didn't even live in the dumpster.
But it was a real waste of time.
Yeah.
But I can, I couldn't imagine losing a cat. This guy lost his fucking home last night. And this girl's like,
I lost my fucking cat. My mom's a bitch. I don't know why I'm working here because she just takes all my fucking money. I gotta live off tips now.
Really? My beard soles guys coming.
They woke me up in the library. They wouldn't let me sleep there overnight.
I told them I was studying. They didn't believe me.
So Hugh comes in to the restaurant and he's like, he's on a huff and he goes, you, Santa, can you, okay, hey, you still looking for a job? I got a job for you. And he's like, you can be Santa. And he's like, oh, that sounds great. I'd love to be Santa. Do I have to blow anybody or no? I even get my own dressing room. This is wonderful. It's a Christmas miracle. And then we go to Santa, and the first thing that happens is a kid pisses on him. Within seconds. He gets pissed on by a child. And he goes in the back room, and he's wiping himself off, and he's just like, oh boy, this is not a good day. And then he looks down, and
there's like a chalk outline of the last guy that was there. Still there.
The cops have just left the chalk outline of the dead body.
And there's still bloodstains.
Okay, this is where it gets even weirder, is the Santa guy looks down and starts talking to it. He calls it by name, by the way. Yeah. He calls it by name. He's like, oh, I'll tell you, Bill, it's been a rough day. I don't know how you did it. Maybe I'll end up in a chalk outline soon, too.
God willing.
But then he finds and then he finds some weird mark on the floor, and he just keeps talking to himself over and over like he's a fucking crazy person. And apparently we find out he used to be like the store detective?
Yeah. Or, I heard Star Detective.
Star Detective,
Yeah.
okay.
Because I don't think stores. I don't think stores have detectives dedicated.
Okay, hold. I got a story. I got a hashtag call me Tex on this.
do.
This is one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me in my whole fucking life. So I was in some like makeshift miniature golf course in a small town. I mean, really small town. I mean, like a man built a miniature golf course in a building, and like this guy was a fucking crazy man. Okay, you walked into this place, which was the family fun center in this town, which was just a storefront that this man had fashioned into some sort of like backyard carnival. Like when you were a kid, and you'd like set up little carnival games in your backyard, and you'd like have a balloon, and you're like, throw a dart through it.
Right.
But just imagine a grown man doing that and like charging money for it.
Ooh.
And he built this miniature golf course out of like just plywood and stuff. And the person I went with, by the way, when we were done, said, wonder if he's ever heard of a level. Because the fucking balls rolling all over the goddamn place. And so this guy, by the way, wouldn't stop talking to you. And he was very proud because he apparently had made one of the costumes that was used in the movie Hook. And he would never shut the fuck up about it. Because he'd be like, and you might see that costume over there that was featured in the movie Hook, worn by one Robin Williams. And you know who made that costume? You're looking at him. Okay.
Pause for applause.
So at the end of the day, he's like, oh, so where are you folks from? And I say, oh, from Southern California.
Oh,
and he goes, oh, my son, he lives in Southern California. And I said, oh, yeah? Where is it? Whereabouts? He says, oh, yeah. He works in internal affairs. For TJ Maxx. That's he did like a 5-minute pause. He goes, he works for internal affairs in TJ Maxx. And I just went, oh, like I was surprised, like the crime runs so deep in TJ Maxx that they need an internal affairs.
Yeah.
Like there's just crime syndicate from the inside of TJ Maxx, and they're like fucking working their way to busting employees on some slow burn and like
the long con is in effect. It's like a hierarchy of mob bosses in TJ Maxx.
I get inside and I tell my wife, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I didn't know that TJ Maxx had internal affairs. And she goes, he's a security guard, Mike. He's a security guard. And I was like, oh, that's the fanciest way I've ever heard that put.
I picture like the tweed suit with like the pads on the elbows and like the badge he pulls out and the hat.
Like I imagine a fucking plainclothes guy, just like doing the long con, like you said. He's going around to different TJ Maxx's. He's trying to see where these bottles of shampoo have gone. I mean, they can't find it out. They're disappearing from shelves.
Yeah.
They don't know who took it, but they know it's an inside job.
One day the trail's gone cold.
This guy going all around the country.
He's got a notepad and notes, just like fucking True Detective.
Yeah. He's also starting to lose it a little bit. He's talking about how time is a flat circle. And
I'm going to find that Head and Shoulders. The last thing I do.
It's taking him to some fucking bayou castle. This crime runs deep over at the TJ.
Internal affairs.
He's taking up chain smoking and he's just fucking downing coffees all night at Denny's with all these fucking pictures in front of him of shelves with this crime scene. There's just a little bit of Head and Shoulders left,
No, there's like chalk outlines of bottles of shampoo. And then instead of blood, it's just like shampoo stains where it used to be.
Shampoo stains on like a shirt on the ground, They got the chalk outline. He's been in there for days taking pictures, Polaroids. He just scatters them all around the table and he's fucking losing it. And then the lady comes up, she's like, do you want anything else? Just talk a fucking coffee! I'm sorry. This case is gone cold. So then we go back to the grandpa. Okay, so now the grandpa's like in his study, and these like German hoodlums have showed up, right, with thick German accents, and they're like,
these guys come out of
"Das
fucking nowhere. I was so lost when these guys came in. I had no idea where or how these guys fit in this movie. I just went along with it.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
because you like cut to them having like expository dialogue.
Yeah.
He's like, and then the elf will take over the world, and I'm like, wait,
yeah,
huh? Who the fuck's this guy?
No one.
I'm like, did I miss something?
Yeah.
And the grandpa gets pissed. It pulls out like an old German gun.
Yeah, like out
of the end of
like a Ruga.
Yeah, like out of the end of Dangerous Men.
Yeah.
And he points it at him, and he's like, yeah, I'll shoot you.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're not. And they're like, your granddaughter, she, Fraulein, be fucked by elf. New World Order. I'm like,
How do you think that script went together that day at that typewriter? Your daughter fucked by elf. That's the best way we can do a German accent, you know? It's gonna fly really well off the tongue.
The elf, the fuck, the granddaughter.
That's more French now.
Le elf, le fuck, le fuck.
That's what they say sex in French, by the way.
Le fuck.
While doing a pelvic thrust with both hands.
So then we go back to Kirsten at work, right?
Yeah.
And the unholy trio shows up, and one of them flashes her bra and asks what the others think.
He doesn't like red.
They're just like, she's like, what do you think? And she's like taking off her shirt in the middle of public. They're like, you look dumb. And then they're like, all right, let's just meet when we're off work. We don't know what the hell's going on, but something's happening. Go to Santa. He says bye to the chalk outline, and he calls it Eddie. Right. I guess they're on a name-by-name basis now. Like, he's on a first-name basis with the chalk outline. All right, Eddie, I'll see you tomorrow. He exits the building, and he puts a piece of tape on the door like this is the Watergate or some shit. And Kirsten also leaves work, and apparently she was also going to put tape on the door, which, by the way, there's a nice convenient piece, like roll of tape right by the door, like just in case.
Yeah. Is this before they were talking about what they were going to do with their guys when they get here? Or after?
No, they haven't done that yet.
Okay.
So then we go to the library, of course, and Santa comes walking into this library, smoking a cigarette, and he walks up to the librarian and he goes, hey, yeah, I'm looking for this book. I used to read it in high school. And she's like, she just looks at him and she's like, what? Because you can't hear her.
Yeah.
For some reason, they didn't record this librarian's audio because you can barely hear her. Like, if you think Dan Haggerty can barely get out a fucking line, this lady sounds like she's talking through a soda can. Like, she put a Coke can up to her mouth and yelled into the microphone.
Yeah.
But he literally says, Chris, he's like, hey, you have this book? I used to read it when I was in high school and stuff. It had, like, symbols in it.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, I think it's over there or something. And then he goes over. She does say it's in section 666. And he goes, what, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am. I remember a book from college about mystical symbols and runes.
Occult Sciences, section 666.
Are you kidding me? That's got to be a joke.
We cut to him reading a book, still smoking, in a library.
That would have been great if he's like dashing the embers like on pages, and like the pages are like slowly like.
Well, he defaces this book quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, check it out or keep it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. He's reading this book, and he's trying to find this weird symbol, and he's just like talking to himself in full volume in the library. He's like, look at this fucking book. Look at these symbols. Look at this book. Oh my God, this page was ripped out. This page which had the symbol that I'm holding in my hand was ripped out. It must be something going on. It's Patrick. It's Patrick. And then some lady tells him to shush. He's like, shut the fuck up.
Because he's talking, everything has to be out loud.
And he turns around and shushes her right back.
I have a theory.
Okay.
Is the Santa that died, in his mind, what if this guy is like so mentally gone that he imagines him like it's a Fight Club scenario where he's there the whole time with him. Like he imagines him there, that's who he's talking to get him through.
He's got like an imaginary friend with him.
Yeah, he's like
I could
so
see
gone.
that.
Like the stress of not having a job, the stress of losing his home, Christmas. Now
he's been
like
turning doorknobs all week, Chris. He can't find any place.
That's what it is. That's who he's talking to. Is this dead Santa? That's now his friend.
So we go to. I could see that.
No.
I think this guy's having a little True Detective moment. I think he's having a full McConaughey. Like he's
Yeah.
fucking losing it. This
Yeah.
guy. He's going in fucking libraries defacing books and
Smoking and
fucking chain smoking in the library and
Yeah.
yelling out loud. This is like the loudest he talks in the whole movie is
Yeah.
in the fucking library. So then we go back to the unholy trio who have now snuck into the mall or the what have you here. And Santa tries to sneak in, but they've locked the door. They took that tape off the door, which doesn't make any sense because they were waiting for the boys to come in. So that's when we find out. Apparently, they're waiting for guys to come in so they can like fuck them in an abandoned mall or something.
in the tents, apparently.
Yeah. And so Santa eventually gets in, right? Like he was going to grab a pipe and apparently break this door open. But
Yeah.
then Kirsten puts the tape back and he's like, oh. And he opens the door and he can't figure it out.
Bill must have done that.
And at this point I read, I'm very confused as to the plan. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you're right. So they're all like, oh, wait a minute. I'm going to go get dressed. I'm put on makeup. And one of the girls comes back in lingerie, like some crazy cape deal, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you think? And she's like, yeah, you look like a slut. And then Kirsten comes up wearing a one-piece swimsuit with a tutu. And they're like, oh, my God, you look hot. I'm like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And then Santa goes into this dressing room. I guess he lives here now, right?
Yeah, he does.
So he lives in this mall, and he like has the book he took from the library, and he just starts highlighting it with a highlighter. He's like, well, it's my book now. I took it out. And he keeps talking to himself like a crazy person. He's mumbling things we can't understand about this book. And now the elf is now in the mall.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you say, okay, so the trio's putting on their makeup at the cosmetic counter, and Kirsten says like, oh, hey, I have a new name for our group. Masters Without Slaves. This goes nowhere.
Yeah.
But that's now what they're going to call themselves once. That's it.
Done. Yeah. That's a wrap on that line of script.
So then Santa comes out, chain smoking still, and watches them from a balcony, just kind of stares at them, and he's still talking to himself. He's like, this is perfect.
What the hell?
And he's smoking a cigarette. He's very noticeable, but apparently they can't smell or hear a man mumbling to himself 5 feet away.
Let alone the smoke alarm isn't going off in the store.
But then he comes downstairs and he's like, hey, what are you doing in here? And they're like, she's like, well, what are you doing here? He goes, well, I'm taking care of things. And she's like, well, that's a bunch of fucking bullshit. I know you're not allowed to be in here. What are you fucking living in here, you fucking homeless loser? And he's like, well, maybe I am.
Don't tell the landlord.
And he says, okay, well, he's like, well, if you don't do anything, then I won't do anything. And then that's fine. Cut back to the house. The grandpa and the German goons are just waiting around for Kirsten, but they can't find her. Who cares? Here come the boys.
Well, there is a line of dialogue that one of the girls says. I don't know if you remember, but they're talking about having sex with the guys. And
Oh, no, that's coming up.
Okay.
That's coming up.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Chris, here come the boys.
Yes.
The boys, 3 eager beavers.
Very eager beavers. Yeah.
So they're like coming up to the mall and they're all looking for the unholy trio and they're like debating which one they're gonna fuck. You know, he's like, I want this girl. No, I want this girl. No, I want this girl. But then the door's locked. So they just, they go wild and turn into like wild animals and start like banging on the door and trying to pry it open
I
with
just
a
picture
crowbar.
them like they're like humping the doorknob, trying to get it open somehow. Like instead of picking the lock, they're dicking the lock.
So we go back in. Okay, Chris, this is the part. So all these tents are set up, and they're like, oh, this is the tent I want. This is the tent I want. And they're talking about, I guess they're going to bring these guys into these tents, and they're all going to, I don't know, get busy in these tents right next to each other. Very romantic.
The great indoors.
Yeah.
Great in whores.
And that's what Chris, one of the girls asked Kirsten, she's like, so are you really going to do it? Are you really going to have sex with these guys?
Yeah, I figured just go through with it. I mean, it's better to just do it. And I just don't like the confrontation of it. If I said no, I never say no.
Okay. Kirsten says, no, I'm not going to do it with any guys. I would rather it be special. And you're right. The girl says,
Just say no. It scares the hell out of them. They don't know how to deal with it.
I'd rather just go through with it than get in a confrontation. It's easier.
And I just write, okay. So some guy's getting all grabby. She's like, okay. just easier than saying no, I guess. That's great advice.
Yeah.
So the boys are trying to break it.
I never took a debate class. I don't know how to tell no. You know, I can't do it.
I just always find myself saying yes a lot.
Oh God, that's horrible. It's a horrible example.
That's what her mom told her. She
I
goes
know.
like, "Oh, honey, it's just easier to just say yes. How do you think your father's here? Or you, or any of the other children, your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, it's a woman's place in the world.
Just don't question it. You know, just find a spot on the wall. Just stare. It'll be over soon.
Just go somewhere else in your mind.
What if he doesn't want to wear a condom, Mom? You know,
Then you'll have a gift from God in 9 months.
God gives you a hug." So the boys are trying to break it on the mall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of knocking on the door like a normal person, they're sounding like a bunch of fucking criminals robbing this place. This is as loud as it could ever be. They're like, dick in the locks,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And Santa's getting fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the German goons come in and like one of the boys falls down dead, I guess?
I think they like beat him down from behind or something.
I'm like, what?
It's not shown.
The other two you'll never see again. You just see like one dead body.
Yeah.
They run into this mall and they like capture the lingerie girl and they're like, "Where's the Kirsten?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then one of the guys just shoots her in the head. And it's like, "Oh, good night."
Yeah, because she's like in this elevator and you're kind of fucked in there. It's like a service freight elevator.
So these fucking these German guys just come in the mall. They ask questions. You don't got an answer. You're fucking dead.
Yeah.
They shoot this girl dead in the elevator. Then the elf shows up for no reason to kind of ruin the party. Then the goons walk in. They find Santa. Okay, so basically they get in some giant gunfight. And then the elf... Does the elf kill the other girl? Yeah, he does, right?
Yeah, he stabs her.
So he like chases down the other friend of hers, stabs her. And then Santa and Kirsten get in this really long anticlimactic gunfight.
Yeah.
Where they just kind of like shoot guns at each other for 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
Santa's like, "Can you hand me those shells? Hand me those shells, please. I got to shoot back at them or else they might kill us." You know?
No, it's not a scene unless I shoot back.
So it just goes on for a while. And then the elf is now wearing a Santa hat, which is nice.
I love that. Like, I don't know, like how I would have loved to see the scene where this walks and it goes, finds it, puts it on its head and looks in the mirror.
It does for some reason get scared of a robotic pig.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then basically this ends because the cops have finally showed up. Because this whole time, okay, this is like a 10-minute scene while an alarm's going off still, and everybody's always holding their ears like, "Oh, it's so loud." Yeah. And the cops are nowhere to be found. They finally have shown up. The German goons run off, and Santa and Kirsten are like, "Oh, we gotta exit the mall." And their version of exit the mall is just to walk really fucking slow through the store, and then they see like one of the dead girls, and they're like, "Oh my God, she's dead." And they don't make it out. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Santa puts his hands all over the body because that's a real smart fucking idea.
Yeah, the way he checks her, he kind of does like a really Uncle Bat touch for her side, like she's dead, and there's like a weird up the side of her waist.
It's like for a detective, for a star detective.
Yeah,
he might realize if you're holding a gun that you shouldn't have, and there's a dead girl who's been fucking shot. Oh no, I'm sorry. They only find the stabbed girl. They don't even ask questions about the girl who's dead in the elevator.
Yeah.
And by the way, we'll never find out about that girl.
No,
it's my theory that maybe somebody the next day just came into the store and like, "I gotta go to the second level. Oh my God, there's a dead girl in here." "Oh yeah, we forgot about her." And she was a slut wearing her lingerie. But yeah,
she was asking for it.
This girl's been stabbed to death, and Santa thinks it's a good idea to put his hands all over her, like you said, a little Uncle Bad touch all over her. He's like feeling her up. He's like, "Oh, I don't feel anything. She's dead, I think. I'll get my fingerprints all over her." Yeah. You know? Cops, I'm friends with them. They'll never think about it.
They'll wipe it away with a cloth.
So we go to later, and the cop from before looks around the store, and he yells at Santa, and this is when we find out he quote, "used to be one of the best detectives on the force before he drank himself out of a job."
Yeah.
And then Santa tries to convince this cop. He's like, no, I'm telling you, it was a 2-foot tall elf who did all the killing. And I'm like, yeah. Also, why not just tell him about the weird fucking German gang?
Like, yeah. Like the shock troopers that were just in here doing the mall blitzkrieg.
Like he's like, well, did that elf have a gun? Because apparently there was a giant gunfight and all these fucking bullets everywhere. Can you tell me about that? Oh, that was this whole other thing with all these Germans. Do you know the Germans? Oh yeah, that, yeah. And so then Hugh, the store manager, shows up and he's fucking pissed and he confronts Kirsten and he's like, what the fuck happened here? Why are you here? Also, Santa, why are you here? And he comes up and he's like, hey, lay off, man.
Lay off.
She didn't do anything wrong. And he's like, there's fucking bullet holes all over this goddamn place.
People are dead.
He goes, there's fucking dead people here. It's Christmas fucking Eve tomorrow. He's like, nobody wants to shop here with blood stains. And Kirsten looks at him and she goes, well, what do you want me to do? Clean it up, asshole? And I just wrote, if it was me, I'd go, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, actually. Yeah. You know what? Fuck you. If you don't want to get fired, you're going to stay here all night and clean up your fucking friend's blood all over the fucking place. Also, maybe you're going to jail because where are this 2-foot tall elf you're talking about, or these Germans? All I see is you people and fingerprints all over this fucking body from both of you.
And we're all out of shells from our gun case. Like, we can't even sell these now. These guns have been used.
But instead, Hugh tries to slap Kirsten.
Yeah.
But Santa stops him, and he's like, all right, well, you're both fucking fired. Rightfully so. They're fired. And then we just see, okay, so the elf is now somewhere in the store, and he's, like, with the lingerie girl, and he, like, tries to, like, put her hand in his mouth or something, but then he sees a rat, and he runs off.
Yeah. I thought he was, like, trying to eat her.
I don't know what the fuck is happening. So then we go to Kirsten's home. Santa has brought Kirsten home, and the mom, like always, does not believe anyone and just says it must be drugs. And apparently the mom thinks she was going to fuck Santa. Oh, yeah. She goes, I don't know what the fuck's going on. You didn't come home last night. Now you come home with this guy
twice your age.
And then she's like, and by the way, get the fuck out of my house, homeless man. I'm calling the police. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll leave. You're crazy, lady. You should really believe your daughter. We did see this 2-foot tall elf, and there was these Germans, and it was a whole mess over there. And then the grandpa comes up to Santa before he leaves, and he's like, well, I believe you because of elves.
Because he has him describe what the elf looked like. He's like,
and you're sure?
2 feet. 2 feet tall. He's like, yeah.
That sounds about right. But what's that weird symbol? I've seen that symbol around. Do you know what that has to do with anything? And this just ends. Santa gets in his car and he drives off. He looks at that book again and he finds, quote, something, right? All starts to get very confusing at this point. So then Grandpa and Kirsten share a scene of exposition where they say a bunch of vague things that have to do with, quote, something.
Yeah.
Then we go to the Capitol building and so Santa walks into this building with like a round ceiling and he gets disoriented and he bumps into a lady and she goes, you can't smoke in here. And he goes, oh, thank you very much. By the way, do you know where the library is? And she's like, yeah, it's over there, but you really can't smoke in here. He goes, oh, thank you. And he just walks into this library where this fucking guy with like a 3-foot long pipe.
Yeah, thank you. And he's smoking in the library.
And they're both just smoking up a storm. And then there's this like 10-minute fucking scene about finding this book with the symbol in it. And then the guy says something about how he just rambles on and on and on and on and on. This librarian guy, like he's, as Chris said before, he ran out of bubble gum. So he started chewing up the fucking scenery and he's going on about the fucking Ark and Noah and Jesus and rocks moving.
This guy wanted to be in one of the Indiana Jones movies, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, this is the same year The Last Crusade came out, so I feel like he didn't get that gig, and this is his next best chance.
He went out for that Connery role.
He wanted that Connery role really bad.
So eventually Santa tells him to shut the fuck up and tell him what it has to do with elves. And then the guy says, oh, well, it's apparently this Nazi plot about elves,
a race of super
but
elves.
You know what? I don't know about it. Can you go visit this other guy and he'll tell you all about it? And I wrote, for fuck's sake, just get it done here.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do we have to go to another guy's house or wherever we're going to go? Just tell him. Just tell him here.
Is it a case
Runtime,
of
baby.
Thank you. The old RT.
So no, we can't get out the stupid exposition here. This scene literally makes no fucking sense. It means nothing because it just was about Santa going to a room and a guy telling him, well, you got to go talk to this other guy if you want to find out. But I think it has something to do with Nazis.
This is like a really bad like bargain bin RPG game at this point. Like a low rent point and click Maniac Mansion, Day of the Tentacle.
Just this long trail of breadcrumbs we have to follow.
Yeah, and they all taste like shit.
Santa gets in his car and drives away, and one of the Germans follows him. Then we go to the house.
I think that's the only reason why we had him go to another house, is because we needed the scene of the German following him.
Yeah, although they could have just had that.
Yeah,
they could have just had that.
Yeah.
So we're at the house, and the grandpa puts water on some mysterious artifact. Nothing really happens. Then Kirsten's packing her bags, and Mom comes in and she talked to the police, so she must be telling the truth because all her friends are dead. But then this breaks down into where this movie becomes unforgettable. Is Kirsten says to her mom, I wish Dad was here. And she says, your father is here. He's downstairs. He's in the study. And she goes, but that's Grandpa. And she goes, your grandfather is your father.
Yeah. And that's what we have like this. I couldn't tell if she was trying to be like. At first, I was like, no, that can't be the twist. And I was thinking, oh, she just means that metaphorically, like the grandfather is now taking care of her as a father role. And I'm like, oh no, she's serious.
Oh no,
she's really
this
serious.
Is gonna get insane.
Yeah.
So apparently, and then by the way, the mom just starts hitting Kirsten, and we cut. Then we go to this mansion. And Santa knocks on the door, and this like Hispanic maid answers the door, and she's like,
yes, Mr. Santa.
He goes, yes, hello, is Dr. So-and-so here? And she's like, yes, he's trying to eat dinner right now. Okay, thank you. I'll let myself in. And this homeless man barges into this house smelling of fucking cigarettes and alcohol and runs up to this man trying to carve a turkey for his grandchildren. And he goes, hey, I need to ask you some questions about Nazis.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Eventually... So this guy walks up, Chris. He's ruined this man's Christmas dinner because he goes like, "This is Christmas Eve, and I'm trying to eat dinner with my family."
How dare you? How fucking dare you? Christmas Eve.
He goes, "How dare you? I just want to ask one question." Like, I'll be gone.
I'll just need a minute, man. I just need a minute.
He's like, call the cops, and he's like, or no, he starts talking to the maid in Spanish.
Yeah.
He's like, and he's like, come on, man, just talk to me.
He's trying to tell her how to call 911, and he's not getting it.
He goes, by the time you get through her, I'll be out of here.
Yeah,
just answer me one question.
I just want some information.
And he goes, all right, fine. What question you have? He goes, well, it's about Nazis.
And the best part is that the kid, it's like they don't even excuse themselves to talk about this. The kids, we have this long shot of the kids listening.
Yeah.
While we have his hand like get close to the chair with the kid on it. Like the dad's comfortable with this guy leaning against this chair with his kids right there.
Yeah, and he basically goes like, there's this story about elves coming back, and because Nazis want these elves, and they need to fuck a virgin.
Yeah.
So that they can create a master race, but it can only happen on Christmas Eve. And Santa's like, okay, thank you very much. And then he leaves. And that scene's over,
Done.
Chris. Then we go to Kirsten's house. She's talking to her, quote, father. And I write, I really want to hear a little bit more about this, but I'll get my wish in a minute. The mom is in another room, Chris.
Yeah.
She's getting that tub ready. And she's putting that radio a little close to that tub.
And you see it coming from a mile away. She's putting on this lipstick really aggressively.
Yeah, what was it?
Why?
She's just like caking it on, and then starts putting it on the mirror.
Because I thought this was like a suicide thing. Like, I'm gonna look really nice for my suicide, and like
Yeah,
get all
yeah, yeah.
nice, and then put on the nice music, like that song that's playing. That's very a way to go out, I guess. And
Yeah.
I thought she's like, all right, now
playing
nice.
fucking Moody Blues or something. Right at the crescendo of Knights in White Satin, she's gonna toss that radio in.
Because I love you.
Right before the guy goes, breathe deep. You know what I mean? So then the grandpa is downstairs, and he tells Kirsten how he drugged his own daughter and fucked her so he could produce a child so that it would be the perfect female specimen to create the master race.
Yeah.
And then the mom starts putting on that lipstick, and then the brother finally comes back. Bobby, the eager beaver from the beginning of the movie, comes back and goes, you think there's going to be any presents? Because I don't see many under the tree. Then we go to this car chase. One of the worst car chases in history. It's just basically two cars driving, and then the Nazi guy. So he's following Santa, and then Santa finds. He's trying to light a cigarette with his cigarette lighter in the car, and it's not working, and he bangs it, and then this stick of dynamite falls out from under the car.
Yeah.
And he grabs it, and he rolls out of the car like Walter in the Big Lebowski style, like just kind of fucking opens the door and rolls out of this car, and it explodes. And then he beats up the Nazi, and he's asking where Kirsten is. And I'm like, probably at her fucking house, dude.
Yeah. It's Christmas Eve. Where do you think he is? I don't know. With the family?
Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Go to the house. Mom gets in the tub. The elf breaks into that bathroom, Chris. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Gives her the old 1-2.
Yeah, the old radio into the tub. But the elf does this weird like up and down thing after it happens.
And then Santa comes over, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, hey, Santa, how you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, hey." And they go upstairs. This part is so amazing. So they all go upstairs. Santa, Kirsten, and the Eager Beaver brother go upstairs. And they look in the bathroom, and they're like, "Mom, is Mom in there?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, she's in there." And he's like, "Oh, what happened? Is she going to be okay?" And Santa just goes, "Yeah, she's going to be fine. She'll be fine."
Yeah.
I'm like, she's fucking French toast in this fucking tub, man.
Yeah. Like the makeup
looks like a burned hot dog.
The makeup was actually really funny that they did on her for these like electrocution effects.
I love that he goes, "No, she's fine."
Yeah. Well, are you
fine.
gonna tell someone's kid on Christmas Eve that their mom's dead?
She's fine. What's that smell?
Oh, she was eating toast in the tub. She was eating bacon.
Nothing.
Yeah. She was eating bacon.
She's eating bacon
in the tub.
So Grandpa tries to stop them from leaving, and then Santa says they should listen to him. And at this point, I don't know if the grandpa is bad or good.
Yeah.
He fucked his own daughter to produce a child
for
to create the master race, and now he's trying to tell him how to kill the elf?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
No, it's going back and forth, and this is where it goes completely off the rails.
This is where I started wondering, Chris, do you think that the boy was also made by the grandpa?
Oh, thank you. I was wondering that.
Like, do you think he was just like, well, I kind of liked it, so...
Well, they didn't succeed because it was not a girl. Oh, wait, no, it does make sense.
No, she
was born first.
Maybe he tricked her. He's like, well, actually, you gotta have a boy. If we're gonna have the master race, we gotta have a boy too.
Yeah.
So
it's a real Adam and Eve scenario.
She's like, really again? You gotta drug me all over again? He's like, you didn't complain the last time. I wasn't awake. Then the grandpa confesses to the whole plan of impregnating his own daughter to Santa, and Santa's like, Jesus Christ, Dad, what's wrong with you? And then the grandpa says something about how they got to kill the elf. Then these Nazis show up. One Nazi shows up with a video camera, and he's all ready for the he's ready for the big day. He's like, "Oh, here's the bride, about to be fucked."
I know. Like, do we need this documented? Jesus Christ!
And then Santa like roughs him up, and then apparently the grandpa says like, "Oh, come here, I need to whisper to you how to save yourself," to the Kirsten, and he whispers off screen so we can't hear any of the information. Then there's like this whole fucking shootout, and like everybody gets shot, including the grandpa and Santa and everybody else. And then Kirsten and her brother run into the woods, and the elf comes out there and finds them, and it like moves all super slow.
Yeah. Like the way the legs look. Imagine like a marionette, like the bottom half. This is how the elf moves its legs. It's like marching in place.
It's very bad, yeah.
Yeah, almost like it's marching in place, but there's no forward rhythm motion to it. It's very unnatural.
It's the worst. It's Jim Henson is not.
Yeah.
Do you think that this was a puppet, right? This wasn't like a midget.
This was definitely a puppet. There's a fucking no way. Because the mouth is the same position all the time. But
you're right. Yeah, like, the mouth never opens or closes.
Yeah,
it's
the
always
eyes,
just open.
The face is stationary. It's static.
It's like the worst. Like it's just like a giant. It's just like a giant
maquette
thing you'd buy at a Halloween store on sale because nobody fucking bought it.
They threw some Vaseline on it to give it some shine.
Yeah. And so it's like sneaking up towards Kirsten in the woods, and she yells to her brother. She's like, "Oh, go run back to the house because I forgot to grab this jewel to kill the elf." And so the brother runs back and leaves her with the elf, and they have a moment. The elf kind of like touches her leg a little bit, you know.
It's a tender elf.
She's not scared anymore.
No.
She's just kind of sitting there. She's like, "Oh, I said I wanted it to be special." So then the brother comes back with his gem. She stabs the ground. She calls it the F word, and I don't mean fuck.
Yeah, which I thought was like, really? Do we need that? You're calling an elf that word? I mean, it's going for you. I mean, it's just out of place.
Before you kill it, call it that homo slur. You know, call it that slur for homosexuals.
More contemporary, you know?
The kids like that way.
It's edgy.
So then it's just morning, and her brother are just holding each other as the sun rises.
Yeah.
And the night's over. And then, Chris, the last shot of the movie.
Yes.
Cuts to
a silhouette of an embryo beating orange heartbeats. Roll credits above it.
the master race.
Yes.
So apparently that elf fucked her.
Yeah.
He was a quick finish because that
Yeah.
boy came back quite quickly.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because, I was like, why isn't she, like, scared of it?
Yeah.
But then apparently she wasn't satisfied because she called him the F word and stabbed the ground.
Yeah.
So she was
Yeah.
like, yeah, it ain't good. Recommendation.
Yeah, if you want to see a entertainingly bad holiday-style movie, yeah, of course. This is a quick VHS. It's one and done on this
If you're
one.
hanging out with friends this Christmas weekend, fire up Elves.
Fire up the nog.
If you guys are drinking and having a good time, fire up Elves and say, I got a Christmas movie you haven't seen before. And it's a little different.
Yes. Do you like inbreeding, like incest?
Do you like Nazis? Do you like talk of the master race? The Fourth Reich, as they call it? Then you'll love Elves. You like Grizzly Adams?
Oh, yeah, it's the Adams are coming to get you.
So, I'd recommend it. Thank you, Stephen, for recommending this to us. This was a good one. It's a good blind watch.
This
So
was
2 in a
magical.
row, I'd say. Fun. Definitely different types of movies. Savage Sisters and this one are nowhere close. But it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that sound, Chris?
Mm-hmm. If this is the first time you are hearing this program, we always harken back to the first movie we've ever covered, 1977's The Van, about a ginger high school graduate that gets a garish yellow van with his car wash money salary and attempts to lure women into it, and basically wants to have his way with them by any means possible. We mean any way possible. And his employer, Andy, played by Danny DeVito. How these two individuals would fit into any movie we cover. Mike, how do you think they would fit into this one?
Well, Chris, the obvious answer would be that her brother is Mini Bobby.
Yeah.
But what about the idea of 9 months later, when she's on that operating table and that baby comes out with a nice poof of orange hair? And maybe we learn that Bobby is in fact the product of the master race. He is literally the perfect specimen, Chris. He grows up, he trips over that banana peel, gets that van, and he goes around luring women into that van with a much more sinister goal than you would originally thought.
Yeah.
He's looking to continue the master race.
Yeah.
Bobby is. He's looking for slutty women to impregnate so he can leave little mini Hitler babies in them.
Yeah.
So he eventually can form his own Fourth Reich, Chris, and Bobby will lead, and the straight arrow will be the logo of the new republic.
Yeah, that's basically what I thought too. So, good on that.
Either that or maybe Grizzly Adams is just a down on his luck Bobby, you know?
Maybe. But I don't think so because he's way too restrained. He's not taking advantage of anybody.
Well, he's seen some shit, Chris.
He's seen some shit.
He's seen some shit.
Because he would have had those 3 girls in that mall, no problem. He would not have restrained himself. He would have ran a train on all
of a
those
sudden they're
girls.
like, oh, what's that weird smell? You see, Bobby and DeVito was like, Bobby, I heard a rumor that these 3 broads locked up in the department store for the night. There's nobody there tonight, Bobby. You can sneak on there, you know. There's tents in there. Have our way with it. We're beyond joy. Get your boner ready. So I got one for you, Chris. WWBD. What would Bronson do? Sometimes we wonder, how would Charles Bronson handle these situations? Now, Chris, how would Bronson deal with the events happening in this town? And he's the police chief, obviously.
He would, opposite in this mall scene where there's bodies around, he'd be There's really a sign of forcible entry, and I don't mean the door. And he's bending women over. He's like turning them over, looking for signs of rape.
It's gotta be a rape.
Or I'm not interested.
And you see Grizzly Adams talking to him. He's like, "It was a 2 foot tall elf. An elf, you say, huh? 2 feet? Let me ask you a question. What color was he?
I know where this is going.
Was he of dark persuasion? No, he was more gray. So you would say black? No, gray. I said gray. Okay, I'll write down gray African American.
No.
All right, boys, be on the lookout for a 2 foot tall black man running around
with a Santa hat.
With a Santa hat and a knife. He's been raping women. I didn't say anything about a rape.
I love the fact that this elf fired a gun in this movie. Like it has the mechanical knowledge.
Oh
of
yeah,
a
there
gun.
is a part where the elf fires a gun.
Yeah.
Forgot that. There's a part where in that woods where that Nazi shows up, like a Nazi shows up and he's like going after Kirsten and she's like, "Get away from me." He's like, "No, I love you. You're the part of master race."
Mm-hmm.
And then the elf just shows up with a gun and kills him. That was it.
Was there a scene you think of that elf like checking the chamber, like flicking it out, like spinning it around and like, you know, locking and loading and ready to go? Like it has a knowledge of firearm mechanics.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Apparently, there are rumors that he tried to make an Elves 2, but
this should have just been called Elf and called Elves 2
yeah,
Elves.
why was this called Elves? There was only one.
Yeah.
Maybe they couldn't afford it, you know? They had this whole plan to have a little master race of elves running around
That was the
raping
finale.
women, impregnating them, impregnating all the virgins
Here's
around
the finale
this town.
is Christmas morning comes and she wakes up and there's an army of elves coming out of her vagina.
They're all wearing little Santa hats.
Just like sliding out with blood everywhere.
Coming out of her chimney, you know?
Yeah. Or her stomach alien style. And they all have little Hitler mustaches. And they're doing like the goose step
the
march.
elf needed. The elf needed a little Hitler mustache. That would have been amazing.
We're going like total gremlins now. Like the real tongue in cheek, like armbands and everything.
It needed a little Hitler mustache.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Goose stepping all around the
Yeah, it
Christmas
should have
tree.
goose stepped. Oh, God. Well, thanks again for joining us on another episode of The Grindbin.
Merry Grindmas.
Yeah. Enjoy your holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And if you enjoy this show, please rate and review us on iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us online, grindhousefilm.com. You can email us directly, grindbin@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, all over the fucking place.
And if you would be so kind as to click that purple subscribe button in iTunes. Click it. It'll say subscribe. You will never miss another bin. And Mike, is our offer still standing?
Yes, if you rate and review the show 5 stars on iTunes and send us a review and a request, we'll get you on the show.
Mm-hmm. And we mean physically.
Well, you can come on the show if
Yeah.
you wanted to. I'd still have that. I prefer if you record a message telling us why you picked your movie. I didn't ask Steven to. I should have. Sorry. But yeah, you know, whatever. Fuck it. We roll fast and loose around here on the Grindbin. There are no rules to this show.
No. This microphones are just 2 cups with wires hooked into an interface.
Yeah, talking into our Starbucks cups.
Yep. Bobby, start the sleigh.
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Yeah, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
Spooky got no real coach.
Hello, pizza man.
We're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love fun and games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
This is Los Angeles.